Hello and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Abby, and on this channel I am documenting my gardening journey. My garden is in England in the south. It is clay soil and it is northeast facing. So I began my gardening journey back in 2021, the spring of 2021 to be precise. In that year, I grew peas, I grew cucumbers, and I grew sweet corn. Actually, to think about that, it's been a while. But I grew those three with no experience, and I think I did very well. In 2022, I grew more vegetables in addition to the peas, the cucumbers, and the sweet corn. I also increased the growing area. I started to use more of the border because previously I'd only used the end bit of the border. I also began growing flowers, shrubs, and as a result of all this growing, I had more harvests than I had had in 2021. The biggest challenge I faced in 2022 was to do with my boxwood bowls or boxwood hedge. I bought a few of those and they didn't do very well. By 2023, I was more comfortable and more confident in growing plants. As the channel name states, let's sow and see. That's the attitude I've always taken when growing plants. I put them in the ground, see if they do well, and then make adjustments as I go along. To avoid a lot of loss though, I do try to research on the plant initially to see where the best place is to place it rather than losing money unnecessarily. In 2023, I increased my growing area. I also started many plants from seeds, which I then planted, and you'll see the results as we go through 2023. I also challenged myself to have a flowering plant from January till December. So this is outdoor plants. And I achieved that. Spoiler alert. I achieved that and you shall see it in the video. To date, 2023 has been the biggest gardening year I've ever had, and I had the most successes in 2023. Not to say 2024 and 2025 haven't had their own merits, but just to put it out there, and you shall see in the videos. One thing I will say though, for 2021 and 2022, I was able to fit the whole season in one video, more or less. However, with 2023, as I said, it was such a big year in terms of the area I was growing in and the plants I grew and the harvests, and I also had some infrastructure changes. Because of this, I have decided to divide the videos into the seasons. So I'm going to have a winter one, which is going to start off first, which is this one, and then I'm going to have spring, summer, and fall or autumn. So in January, I didn't do much at the beginning of January. However, on the 28th of January, I went out with a friend. We went to a garden center. I took this particular picture because it was just so stunning. Having all the flowers, I was looking at it. I was looking at the rudbeckia. I was looking at the sunflowers. I was looking at it. Was just so colorful, and it really motivated me to just get back in the garden, even though it was January. I ended up doing some shopping. Naturally, garden center. So seeds wise, I bought some dahlias. I bought rudbeckia. I bought oxeye, daisies, and I bought some tomatoes. So I had not grown any of these apart from tomatoes, but the other three were all new to me. In terms of the other vegetables, I bought onion sets, I bought potatoes, I bought garlic, and I also bought a blueberry bush. The next day, I got into the garden and I planted the garlic as well as some spinach. So I did have spinach from a previous purchase. So back in September 2022, I bought this variety pack of seeds and it had 20 different types of seeds in it. So I got some spinach from there and I planted that Both the garlic and the spinach, I planted them in the raised bed. I don't have a particular picture of that, but you will see as the months go how they did. I also took the opportunity to look at my daffodils. These are daffodils I planted in 2022, end of 2022, and they were coming along nicely, which was quite motivating. The next day, I went to a local store to me and I bought 6 primroses, some organic fertilizer, and chicken manure. That's the same thing. Yes. So I bought that for the garden as well in preparation of the season. So that was basically my January. In terms of what was flowering, the primroses, when I got them, they were flowering. So I can add them to the list. But also I had violas that I had planted towards the end of 2022, and they were beginning to flower and they were looking good. So that was January 2023. In Feb, I mostly stayed indoors where it was nice and warm. In terms of flowers, though, I still had the violas and the primroses flowering away. So that's the second month with flowers for 2023. I also got a surprise delivery. I got 2 hellebores that I had ordered back in October. I knew they were supposed to arrive sometime in winter, but I wasn't sure when. But they arrived in Feb and they looked so beautiful. I've had them called Christmas roses as well, and I can see why, because they're quite pretty. Very pretty indeed. So that was Feb, nice and short. On the 1st of March, I took the opportunity to check on my compost and it was coming along nicely. I had stopped adding new matter to the compost at this point. I was putting it in a separate bin. So yes, it looked really nice. It was looking the right color. And yeah, I was quite proud of myself actually. And then on the 9th of March, it snowed. Um, Not very heavily, but it did snow. And you can actually see in this clip, you can see my cold frame in action. So I bought this cold frame in 2022 and I had it here in my raised bed where it was covering my spinach. Even though I did have my compost, which I had checked, it was quite, it still had quite a lot of bits in it. It was good, but I was looking for compost for seed sowing. When I did my research in regards to seed sowing, almost every website was talking about seed compost. So it turns out that seed compost is finer, lighter. It doesn't have bigger bits in it, like bits of wood in it. It's lighter. And the purpose of it being light is that if you have tiny seeds, because sometimes when you're sowing, the seeds are absolutely tiny, the compost then won't hinder the seeds from growing. So if you have your own compost, I found out later that you could sieve it and then make it finer and then plant in that. But then I also saw some research where other people were saying our own compost, someone's own compost might be too strong for seedlings because they don't need that much strength from the compost. But anyway, I just decided to go and buy some seed compost. On the 12th of March, I began my seed sowing journey. So this was the first time that I had done indoor sowing because the previous years I'd sowed seeds directly into the ground. So I think they call it direct sowing into the area I wanted them to grow. The only time I had not done that was when I did my sweet corn, because when I sowed directly into the ground, something was eating the seeds and only a few were coming up. So I ended up sowing some in a tray, but I still left them outside. So even though it was sowing in a tray, it was still not indoor sowing. I planted the onions and most of the potatoes in containers, and then the remaining potatoes, I think there were 3 or 4, I put them in the raised bed. Oh, what a story I shall tell about those potatoes. On the 18th of March, I did some more shopping. I bought a second blueberry plant because I'd researched that they do better in pairs. I bought 2 plant pots where I was going to plant the blueberry plant, and I also bought 2 ericaceous compost bags and a bag of lupin seeds. So ericaceous compost is more acidic than the regular compost, and things like blueberries, azaleas and other such plants, they prefer acidic soil. So I bought the ericaceous soil for my blueberries, and I think they did very well from it, as you shall see in coming months. On the same day, the 18th of March, I got back home and realized that my seeds had already started germinating. As a reminder, I planted these seeds on the 12th of March, and now it was the 18th of March, like what, 6 days later, and they were already germinating. After I sowed my seeds, I placed them in a plastic bag again after researching online. What would we do without the internet? I guess we would ask neighbors and family, but still, you know what I mean. At least this time I can do it without bothering my neighbors and family. But anyway, I put the seeds in a bag. I sowed the seeds and I watered them in the tray. Then I put them in a plastic bag and tied the plastic bag, and I put the tray above on a windowsill above a radiator, and I just took a little peek. Good job I did, because they might have fried in there if I had not removed the plastic bag. But when I took a peek on the 18th and I saw them germinating, I took off the plastic bag, and yeah, they started growing from there. On the 24th of March, I could see even more seeds germinating. It was, I cannot explain the feeling of seeing your seeds germinating. It's just like no other. And yeah, honestly, I could just, some days I'll just pull up a chair and just watch them. It's such a miracle, isn't it, gardening? But anyway, so that was on the 24th. As you have seen the size of my garden by now, you may be wondering where I thought I was going to plant all these seeds that I was buying and all the plants. That's not a question that I considered at all, being a beginner as I was. I also did not realize that I probably did not need over 20 something seedlings of the same type of tomato, which was the Mamande tomato, in addition to other seedlings and for other tomato types. So yeah, but that's something we dealt with in 2023. At this point though, I was quite oblivious. I was just enjoying seeing the seedlings grow. Okay everyone, thank you very much for staying with me to this point. I've decided to end the video here as it kind of captures the winter part of 2023. I think if I divide it according to the seasons, and I've put something up, I had a look online. The dates are a bit disputed, but I think this is a rough guide of when our summer, spring, fall and winter are in the UK. So I'm going to try and follow those, because I think it would be interesting to say, okay, what did I do in winter, what did I do in spring, what did I do in summer, and what I did in fall. But I will say that I think spring, and I think this is known, spring was the busiest of all the seasons, and summer I guess with the harvest. But thank you very much. I'll end the video here and I'll add part 2 next. Thank you.